Good morning, band members. From the original Mr. Rogers, this is my dad, senior year of high school. And here's me now. You see the resemblance? Yeah? Yeah, I think so. Hey, this is number 165. We're going to sight read in the upper numbers from now on because we've already caught up in the beginning half of the book from where we started for the upper grades. So, Mr. Julie and I are just going to continue on up in the 160s, 170s until we have no more numbers. So, this is going to be number 165, Dancing Melody. And before we can play this, we got to learn our new note, which is concert G flat. For some of us, it's going to be written as an E, or sorry, not E flat, A flat. For trumpets, tenor sax, clarinets, you've got that A flat. And then for low brass, percussion, and flutes, you have G flat. So for flutes, if you know your F sharp, right, your right hand, well, everything in your left hand is going to be G, right? So thumb, 1, 2, 3. Then that right hand is going to have that third finger down. So it's going to feel familiar to F sharp. But in this case, it's written as a G flat. It's going to sound the same. It's going to be the same fingering that you'll notice written there. So don't get fazed by it. It is the same fingering and the same sound. It's just written a little differently, okay? All right, so for those brass, it's 2 and 3. It's going to be a slightly higher partial. So just think about that cool air. That's the pitch right there. Again, our piano is a little flat. Yeah, you can see, you can hear it's a slightly lower. We need to get it retuned, but that's the pitch right there. So go ahead and nail down that fingering. Make sure for those padded key instruments like saxophone and flute that you're pressing firmly whenever you're incorporating that like right hand. You know, that's sort of you're skipping the first two and pressing the third one down. Your hand naturally can't really press as hard when it's just that finger. So just be conscious of you might need to push a little bit harder with that third finger in the right hand so that you get a good seal around the pad. Make sure there's no air leaking out. Okay, here we go. Let's play that note together. 1, 2, hold it out. Ready? Good. Now you're going to echo me on that note. Here we go. Echo me. All right, so working with articulations on new notes, especially on awkward pitches like that, it's going to help you become more of a confident player. Try to gain a tone quality for that new note that is the same as that concert B flat, which is the note that we play so often, right? So it sounds really, really good by this point. Try to obtain that same tone quality throughout all the pitches you have learned, okay? And the way you do that is by practicing articulations. To gain control over it. All right. So this is moving on to the song itself, which, I mean, you guessed it, it's going to incorporate that concert G flat. You'll notice on the first note there's an arrow pointing up, showing you your new note. Okay, whether it's the A flat, the G flat, or yeah, anything that's different for you and your instrument. So check out throughout the tune. You're only told of that note in the first measure, then the next measure, and the measure after, the measure after. The measure after and the measure after, you have marked accidentals. So you will play that note throughout that measure, throughout the whole song, okay? Look at your key signature. Okay, it's in the key of B flat or E flat. Should line up with your concert E flat major scale, and then plus that accidental, because that applies for the whole song as well, because it's in every measure. And then look at your time signature. 4/4, 4 beats per measure. You count up to 4. Okay, you have a slur in there. Before that, you have a dotted quarter note followed by an eighth note. Think about how many beats those notes get. And then at the very end, is there a repeat sign? Nope, no repeat sign. Okay, so think about those last 2 measures. The leap that it is, and when you revisit that new note in the last measure, you're holding out for 4 complete beats. So be sure the rest that happens, that quarter rest, got a full breath, all right? So keep the shoulders relaxed. You're filling up that gut. You're compressing the air constantly, okay? Keep the airflow even. And I'm going to pause the video now, so you go ahead and sight read this on your own right now. Go ahead and pause the video yourself. How'd it go? Hey, it's a cool melody to play slow or to play big. There are no dynamics written, so I would suggest start with a mezzo forte. Then if you want to play it again, play it big or soft or with crescendos, decrescendos, different articulations. You can experiment with these things, right? You can turn it into something that you enjoy more than what is written on the page, okay? Let's go ahead and play it. Remember the first note is that new note, the concert G flat. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready? Yeah, that's great stuff. Now, when you're playing through, any of these exercises, understand that when you're moving between your accidental note, the new note that we just rehearsed, and going between more familiar notes, that the fingers need to move fast. Even if you want to create that beautiful, smooth sound, fingers are moving like this. We call this marcato, all right? There's an aggressive, you're slamming the fingers down, right? And you want to avoid this because that's more work, right? Musicians, we don't want to have to think about that. We want to sound like it's easy, right? Not like that, though. Even though it sounds smooth between the notes, right? It's more like mechanical. The way that my fingers are moving, they're not moving smooth or anything. They're moving pretty, slamming down so that all the pipes align with the holes in the valves, okay? You don't want there to be a clogged nature. So, and that cracked note that I did earlier, it's because I didn't have a consistent airstream, right? I held back a little bit. There wasn't enough air support. So understand that when those things happen, it's usually because of the air. And it's because of maybe tension, okay? And the tension gets in the way of fluid airstream. Any muscles that constrict, that keep the airflow from happening the way that you need it to and the way that you want, okay? So this is going to be moving on. If you want to play the song again, go ahead and rewind the video. And I'm going to be moving on to another one. I'm not quite sure which one it is because El Capitan, it's a march by John Philip Sousa, but I think each of us have a different part, so I might move on to a different one. But nonetheless, I'll see you in a moment.